Hey YouTube, I'm Jason and welcome back to my channel. As you all know, Toyota just released the new Toyota Corolla GR. And in appreciation for Toyota making a new sporty hatchback, I'd like to take you back 30 years and revisit the iconic AE86. Check this out. This is JDM Drew's fourth AE86 and I've been babysitting it for the past few months. I've realized that despite being over 30 years old, the 86 community is still very popular and active. Let's walk around and check out JDM Drew's setup. Starting with the exterior, you can see the build is very mild for Drew. I'd describe it as an OEM Plus type of setup. The front end is a JDM Zenki bumper with some GTS livery stickers. Now this paint is not original, it's been resprayed. I'm not sure how old the paint is, but it looks pretty good. I did a paint correction ceramic coating on this car, so yeah, it's looking really good now. As far as the rear, I think it's a Zenki rear bumper with JDM Sprinter taillights and that GTS spoiler right there. As usual, Drew has T37s and the spec is 14x7 plus 0, wrapped in Vulcan Azini's 195/60/14. You can see the Mazda RX-7 calipers peeking through, and I think the kit utilizes a Mini Cooper S rotors. The caliper conversion is made by Techno Toy Tuning, and you can use either FC or FD calipers. I'm not going to be able to show you much of the suspension, but let's talk about it. Most of the parts come from T3. Knuckles, lower control arms, spherical rear forelink, and the coilovers are by Fortunato. It's not a race car, so it's a very street-friendly setup. Moving inside the car, you can see it has full interior. Other 86 owners tell me that this is pretty rare to have in this condition. The seats are blue Recaro SR4s, and it has an AIM digital dash and a double din, and that's about it. While we're here, I'll pop the hood and show you the engine. So here's the engine bay, and as you can see, it's not the original 4AGE. This is a F20C from a first generation S2000. It's a 2.0 liter 4-cylinder, about 250 horsepower that revs up to 9,000 RPM. It's the original 6-speed transmission, and it's made it to a custom drive shaft that leads to the stock Corolla GTS differential. If you're interested in more power in your 86, I highly recommend this engine. It's reliable, powerful, and high revving, and honestly, I think it's the perfect motor for this car. Unfortunately, at this moment in 2022, it's getting more expensive to find this engine and transmission. Don't quote me on current market pricing, but a few years ago, you'd be able to find one of these engines and transmissions for as low as $4,500. Of course, that pricing will vary depending on your location and availability. If you're wondering how it all fits in here, there's a company called JSP that makes the engine mounts and subframe or crossmember spacers. You can see it right there. It's made out of billet aluminum, and it doesn't require any cutting of the firewall or transmission tunnel, but you do have to hammer it in for clearance. So you may have to install and remove the engine and transmission a few times to make sure everything fits properly. The installation will be a lot easier if you have a manual steering rack in your 86 because you don't have to modify the oil pan. I think you might have to modify the crossmember, but JSP actually has an installation PDF on their website that you can view before purchasing. The other shiny components in this engine bay is the Koyo radiator and the Rywire mil-spec harness. This engine is tuned on K-Pro, and of course Rywire is nice and is probably the most expensive thing for the swap, but it does make everything clean and easy to work with. If you want to drop the motor, you just unplug that main connection, drain the fluids, unbolt all the mounts, and drop the motor. Some people can do it really quickly, and that's about it. If you're wondering how it drives, I can give you some feedback, but I'm gonna warn you, I'm not a professional driver. You would think it feels like an S2000, but honestly, it really doesn't. Because of K-Pro, the VTEC engagement is very significant and it's pronounced, so it kicks in hard. The suspension geometry is totally different from an S2000. It's not as plush. It actually feels more raw. With the extra power, it's definitely easier to drift the car and control. It's a fun little car, and thanks JDM Drew for letting me babysit the car. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Please subscribe for more content.